Hey everyone, we are slowly getting started here. Today is especially disorganized. I got started a little bit late, so partly my fault. Okay, all my fault. Oops. Let's try that again. There we go. All right. So welcome to the Twin Cities chapter of the International Game Developers Association. I'm Martin, and your host for this evening's presentations. Yeah. Hey. Oh, wow. Somebody from Austin. Crazy. Yeah, we'll give people another maybe a minute or two to arrive from Discord. There's somebody post the Discord link in the Twitch stream. That's a fun little cross-pollination we could do. How could I be so irresponsible? Yeah, I didn't update the slides until probably 6:15. So actually, a couple of them that usually get updated didn't get updated at all. So, good times. Yeah, sweet. Oh, look at that nice link. Thanks, Scott. So we've got a couple of presentations today, but we're also going to try and do some impromptu presentations, and I have no idea how that's going to go, but I'm excited for it. And we'll get to that in a minute. I didn't make a slide for it, of course, because I didn't. How long do you think I should wait? We got like 26 people. I mean, that's as good as a regular meeting. What I'm not doing is looking at the Discord at all. I'm looking at Slack. That's the other one. I'm in Slack as well. It's good times. I don't even really know where people are chatting in Discord. Are you talking to me, Peter? Because I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm thinking like once the presentations get started, I can just like quick grab something and scarf it down. Lounge text. Lounge number 1. I see there's like a general plaza that has messages I've never seen. Introductions. No one has introduced themselves in introductions. I think it is completely devoid. Literally, there's never been a post in there. There's a lot of people waving at other people. Everybody go introduce yourselves. I'm mostly kidding. Don't do it now. You're watching this. You're watching me cook dinner on stream. It's a game. I'm gonna play Cooking Mama, and for all of you. I didn't actually see if anyone's had any thoughts on how long I should wait. I think I'm gonna do it. It's 6:40. We're gonna get started. So, welcome, new folks. I don't know if you're new in the Twitch chat. Maybe say hi, or introduce yourselves on Discord. That's kind of silly. We aim to be a safe and inclusive space. We're not really a space. I guess we're like a virtual space right now. We do have a code of conduct that, of course, applies to the Twitch chat. Yeah. So we used to meet at the Nerdery all the time, before the pandemic. So someday maybe we'll go back there and we'll have pizza. Oh man, pizza. Maybe I'll make a frozen pizza while Peter's talking. Okay. So these are these are our board members. So these are the people who kind of make this thing run. I organize speakers and do this rigmarole mostly. Zach runs the VR meeting, and everybody else does a whole lot of work that is behind the scenes. So thanks to all of you, if you are watching. This is the main slide that I didn't update tonight, so you can see like May's still on there. But I do have July because I always do 2 slides ahead, so we're good. Next meeting is this meeting. So let's see, do we have a speaker for next month? I'm sure we do, but I don't know who it is. Oh, yeah, we do. I think next month we're going to have Charlie McCarran. Is Charlie in stream? He's going to talk about one of his game projects, board game project. And I think that should be a cool talk. I think that's next month. Actually, now I'm like second guessing. I'm not sure. And I think the VR meeting is still TBD right now, so we'll see how that goes. We do have this lovely slide of. I think this is actually from 2 months ago. The VR meeting. This was a bunch of us hanging out after the meeting, basically like just touring Altspace. So we've been hosting those meetings in Altspace. Also streaming them to Twitch, but that's been a really cool event. I think it feels a little bit more like you're really there, in a way that this feels completely virtual to me. Like I'm not, even though there's all these people making comments, like it doesn't feel like I am anywhere. It feels like I'm still in my living room. Whereas you put on the VR headset and you're in Altspace, like even though it's basically the equivalent of this. It still feels a little bit more immersive. You feel like you're there. Aw, I'm real to someone. So there's a bunch of different ways to connect with us. Obviously, the Discord, this Twitch stream, which is ephemeral, so all of the Twitch chat will be gone in 2 weeks, I think. And we will post this on YouTube. But essentially all the chat and stuff will be stripped out, so it'll just be like the raw, this video footage, and you'll see me in this gloriousness. Oh yeah, that's right. I am like the thing this is pointed to. I forgot this slide has that funny feature. Anyway, so there's a bunch of different ways on our website to get a hold of us. In fact, I don't even think the Discord is on this slide, this page of the website yet. But it probably should be. Slack is probably more active than the Discord is fairly new, and we are not like fully committed to like moving. I mean, certainly we're not going to move everything from Slack over there. Slack is probably more active, I guess is my point. It's a great community, and Discord forever. Yeah, so if you're making games in the Twin Cities, I highly encourage you to join the Slack anyway, and tweet at us. That's the other thing we do, I guess, is we tweet sometimes. Not very much. But we're always happy to retweet games, local games especially, game stuff. So if you tweet at us, we'll help you promote your thing if you're local. Sorry, Austin guy. I mean, maybe we'd retweet your stuff too. Actually, tell us you watch the stream. Like, that's probably enough. Everything's local now, right? Okay, moving on. We're always looking for presenters, of course. Yeah, that's probably enough about that. Please email us or tweet at us or mention it on Slack if you have a talk and or you want to talk, you have a talk. Either of those things apply. Um, we are a chapter of the International Game Developers Association, so it's a truly international organization, and we are just like this tiny little sliver of it. If you are an IGDA member, if you become an IGDA member after watching this, tell them that we're your chapter, and in theory, we get some little benefit from that. You get benefits as an IGDA member. We'll talk a little bit more about the parent org just in a minute, just because we're going to, I think, read a statement. Maybe not read. I'm not sure if we'll read the whole statement. We're going to talk about a statement. And by we, I guess I mean me. It's a little bit weird. I'm going to have a discussion with myself. Not really. So this is just a thing about Twitch and how this is a thing that we have not been doing all that long. We are not probably playing games on stream after this meeting. I think we were going to do that last month, and it just didn't happen. I can't remember what we did. We ended up just on Discord chatting and stuff. It was a good time, but we didn't play any games. I don't want to say instead, because that was sort of my own initiative, and some of the other board members have a new initiative in that they are starting a third Wednesday of the month playtest event on stream as well on Twitch. And this is a consequence of my not updating the slides, is that I promised I was going to make a slide for that event, and I did not. And in fact, I have copy from Mark, who is one of the organizers of that event, that I did not add to the slides because I didn't update them. So let me just quickly mention some of the things from this copy that I didn't update. So it's a new event. You can imagine the head explode emoji. Brain explode. That was in the copy. So yeah, we used to, a long time ago, years ago, actually partly my initiative, we began, before I was running this, before I was the MC, I guess, I was running or helping run these playtest events that were in a physical location. We had some in bars. We did that for a year or two. So this is sort of the evolution of that, I think. I think maybe that's what. That is not what this is saying. I'm just ad-libbing here. Anyway, local multiplayer games are welcome. Any local games are welcome. They want to playtest your games on stream. The local multiplayer can happen because they're using this program called Parsec that lets you play network games, and then I presumably they'll maybe streaming one of the people, or one of the perspectives, one of the game screens. Anyway, they are looking for playtesters as well as developers who want their games played. And I am definitely going to try and submit a game for this. I've been working on a digital version of my own board game that eventually I would like to have people playtest. So I will be doing that as well. So the two folks that are organizing this are Mark LaCroix and Peter Yang. And we'll see Peter in a little bit here. So those are the people that you should basically chat up on Discord or Slack, or you can email us, igdatc@igdatc.org, and get involved in that. So that's a cool thing that's happening. Sorry there wasn't a slide for it. Yeah, so I think they had their first one, and actually you can watch it on the YouTube archive, which maybe somebody nice will paste into this the Twitch chat. But so yeah, we have the archive is basically just since we've gone digital during the pandemic. We have basically everything we've done on YouTube, which is pretty cool. Sort of a consequence unintended consequence, unsomething consequence. All right, let's move on. This is my attempt at this is the first draft of this slide, so I was going to talk about that. Cool. So usually we have plugs and announcements, and sadly, so this is fun. This is a fun thing that happened. Eventbrite, who you may know is how we collect that you're gonna come to this event. They changed up everything in the last month, so we kind of struggled to even put out an Eventbrite email. I don't know if everyone got their emails, but they were pretty late in the game. I'm not going to blame that on Eventbrite, but I mean it was a factor for sure. And so as partly a consequence of that, we did not have the plug my thing ticket type, so no one signed up for that. Wah wah. Somebody got the emails, so yay. I think the emails did eventually go out. And I should say thanks to David, because he's the one who puts all that together and noticed what's happening. Everything's different. The biggest thing was that you can no longer copy a previous event, which is what we've been doing for years, literally years. We copy the previous month's event and then create the new, change the stuff that we were going to change. Can't do that anymore. Now you have to like copy paste each individual thing. Yeah, super silly. There's this awesome community calendar that Zach Johnson made, icecold.games. I don't know if it's been updated. Probably not. There is some cool stuff on there, though, so check it out if you want. Oh, yeah, so in chat, if you haven't already chatted about this stuff, let everyone know if you've made any games recently. If you're looking for collaborators, or if you're looking for work, if you have a bunch of money and you want to hire people to do some work, or if you have other announcements, we'd love to hear about them. So I know that, yeah, that's the thing. So I think that's done. That's enough of my introductions. Enough of me blabbing about. One thing that we said in our email and in our Eventbrite was that we wanted to call out the fact that there have been unprecedented. I shouldn't say that. It's not even unprecedented. The problem is that these events aren't that unusual, but essentially in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, a man named George Floyd was killed. And I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know this, by police brutality, and there are riots all over the country as a result. And we felt that, and I say we as in the IGDA Twin Cities board, felt that we should make a statement about this, that we should say something. We actually were debating it a lot. I mean, I'll admit I was not in favor of making a statement, but I think I was wrong about that, and I think I was convinced that I was wrong about that. And I think that is sort of what all of us should be doing is reevaluating how we think about these issues, like, constantly, and should really, I don't want to say too much off the cuff. I mean, it's just like, I'm not good at talking about this stuff, and I normally don't, and that was, I think, where that instinct to not say anything came from. And then IGDA, the parent organization that I mentioned earlier, put out their own statement about this, and I'm just going to pull that up real quick. You can't actually see the URL, and in fact, it's cut off, which is super annoying. Let's see if I can fix that. Yeah, there, that looks a little better. So, I mean, they basically came out and said, IGDA is, well, maybe it's not too much to read. I'm just going to go ahead and say, I'll just read some of it. So, to the game development community, this is the beginning of a conversation. Protests are currently spreading across the world. Outcry over the killing of George Floyd, racial violence, and systemic issues has gone international, with people taking to the streets of Berlin, Auckland, London, and other cities around the globe to make their voices heard. Of course, it started here. I mean, I don't know. I think we had the first real, protests, and they, they stem from frustration over the failure in the United States to reform practices and policies that hurt Black communities there. These messages resonate widely with the pains and struggles of marginalized groups everywhere. We game developers create art that compels people with emotions and empathy. We can use our talents to not only improve our industry, but to improve the world. And I definitely believe that strongly. I mean, I think I'm just going to editorialize this whole thing, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. People are already strained by the COVID-19 pandemic and an economic recession, and these events can further cause strain. We here at the International Game Developers Association want to provide and our support to those in need and to direct those looking to help address and improve those issues with the resources to take action themselves. The IGDA and the IGDA Black in Games Special Interest Group are hosting a panel on Thursday, June 4th. I think that already happened. It's past the 4th, right? Yeah, it's definitely past the 4th. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, I think you still can on the official IGDA Twitch stream. And that was called What Can You Do? A First-Person Perspective. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you are welcome to read it. And we, at the Twin Cities chapter, met as a board, and we want to make more of an effort to be inclusive, and more of an effort to curb our own systemic racism and sort of combat the inclusivity that we know we're not great at, right? So, I mean, I personally just find promoting anything that includes my own games very difficult. And so I've never promoted this organization at all. We actually just have people show up, and it's great, and it's kind of self-selecting, but I think that's not good enough. And, we really need to work harder to make sure that voices and different voices are represented. And so to that effect, or to that call to action, we have invited some speakers tonight. And so I want to, I don't actually know exactly how this is going to work, but we're going to try and have them present if they are able or if they want to. And so we're organizing that in the Discord. So you're going to have to bear with me for a bit while we figure that out exactly. So
so I've muted the stream, so I can't. Martin, I'm seeing you like 8 seconds behind, but you and I are talking live, and it looks like it's working. Folks say they can hear me
now. Oh my god.
And I'm just here playing crossing guard, so I have nothing to say. I just want to invite the folks who have volunteered to speak and who have waited very patiently this dramatic lead up to this. And everybody be kind to Martin for the trouble he suffered as a result. But I know Stephen volunteered to go first. So Stephen, if you want to join the event stage room, go ahead and pop in and let us know what's on your mind.
And here's a question for the event stage. I mean, and I guess for Stephen, do you have video? Do you want to present something visually, or is it just you're just going to talk audio? Audio.
I'm just going to talk audio.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Is it working?
I think so. Yes.
I heard you talk, but like a few seconds afterwards, so I have muted the stream.
probably for the best.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Hello, my name is Stephen McGregor. I'm game dev here in Minneapolis, but most of y'all already know that. I guess I'm just gonna kind of speak from the heart, I suppose. I mean, we were all, we were all affected by the protests and the riots and the killing of George Floyd. And it was tough for me. I am a black man. And I keep thinking that like that kind of thing could happen to like people in my family, could have happened to me, could have happened to my dad, and things like that. So I guess like to sort of relate that to IGDA and game development and games and why we're here at this meeting. I guess I've been thinking about like my relationship with game development and my relationship to the community here and stuff. And I've always felt welcomed by this community, but I also have felt, I guess I also felt a little bit isolated due to the fact that it oftentimes felt like I was the only Black person in the room, or like one of two or three. It oftentimes felt like I was kind of alone in that way, and so I just wanted to. I'm glad we're having this talk here. I'm glad we're doing this thing here now, because I think it's necessary. I think it's important for people to talk about, and I think it's important for it to be in people's minds. But I hope that we continue as a community in Minneapolis. I hope that the game dev community here continues to put efforts towards increasing diversity. I know that it's difficult. I know that it's not an easy thing to do, but I think it's something that's important.
So in theory, we're back.
Hey, we are.
Interesting. So the stream is working for you?
I'm seeing your Discord window.
Awesome. Perfect. That's exactly what I've been attempting to show. So I'll let you introduce if there's someone else to introduce.
Alex here, I believe, wanted to speak.
Yeah, no idea who's allowing me to do this, who made that mistake, but here I am. Are we giving people a chance to filter in, or should I just go for it?
Just go for it. I think you're good.
Okay. Cool. So, I mean, this is a sort of weird place for me to be talking about it. I'm very white. I'm not a BIPOC person. So certainly but I have been working on the front lines, and so I kind of want to say a little bit about that. The first thing that I think it's worth noting is, so first I'll go over some of the needs that we have. We're looking for, so the group I'm with, this isn't necessarily anything from them specifically. This kind of just happened a couple hours ago that I found out I was going to be speaking. So I didn't get the opportunity to contact them, but semi-urgently we are looking for a PA system. And that's needed for the Sanctuary Hotel if people are aware of what's going on over there. I'm trying to read through my notes here. Any BIPOC people, I believe that's Black, Indigenous, people of color, so basically any minority or marginalized group. If anyone's out there with a higher level of medical training, EMTs or paramedics, the last time I heard, which was like late last night, we were still wanting more of those at the Sanctuary Hotel. Don't go over there without, just send me a PM if anyone wants to go over there. And I will kind of give you some warnings of what the situation are and try and give you a group to work with. It is a very, very chaotic situation though, and it's a very dangerous situation to be going into. As in there's a lot of COVID and there are a lot of sharps, unprotected sharps in the hallway. BIPOC individuals who are interested in giving interviews to the media or doing public speaking are always appreciated. And so are writers, podcasters, journalists, etc., who are interested in talking to these people and interviewing them and doing work with them. I also really want to encourage everyone to keep going on this issue. You know, we saw a lot of people drop off after the first 5 to 7 days about this issue, revolution doesn't happen in a week. We need to keep talking about these issues, and we need to keep it going. I think the biggest thing, and I do intend to do this myself, I need to figure out how to do this, but is show up to the city hall meetings. Because usually hardly anyone shows up to that. One person showing up there and showing their voice can make a huge difference. I was also told, Martin, I'll send you this in your DMs on, if I can here, on Discord. I was told to blast this event on social media. And then I guess if you want to, but yeah, like otherwise kind of some stuff that I'm seeing on the front lines that I don't know what the mainstream media has been reporting, but it, as of about a week ago, it was not the same thing as what is actually happening out there. They are we're protesting the police using excessive force, and then they are fighting us back with excessive force, and that is the craziest thing in the world. You'd think that of all times, they would not use excessive force, but for some reason, they're out here doing that. And it's not just in Minneapolis, it's all across the world. This is an international thing. And yeah, I mean, we have at least one confirmed case where they had a Black Hawk helicopter. We know that a Black Hawk helicopter was deployed, and I believe that we know where that was because we did see a group of 5 helicopters. So it is my belief that it was one of those. But I don't want to take up too much of our time here, but also like it's crazy what they're doing out there to us. They're earlier in the week, things have calmed down a little bit, but earlier in the week, we had an instance where we had the police were pushing protesters towards, I believe it was the highway, and they had a second group of police coming in from the other side, so they pincered them in the middle there. And then that's the instance where they had 5 helicopters up above them. I don't know for a fact that any of them were Black Hawk helicopters, but we do have confirmation from someone who was on our team on the ground that day that there were 5 helicopters there. And we know that a Black Hawk helicopter was in that general vicinity that night. It's I don't know, some of the worst stuff is unconfirmed currently, so it's I don't want to spread any misinformation, so I don't want to really say the worst of it. I'll send you, Martin, another DM here. A lot of people think rubber bullets are like small little rubber balls. These aren't the ones that are being used in Minneapolis right now, but this is an example of what rubber bullets can look like. They are typically classified as actually like fireable batons, and they are, in some cases, and again, these aren't the ones being used in Minneapolis right now, but elsewhere they're rubber tipped, and these things are like about the size and girth of like an arm. So these things are huge. And yeah, these things, we have a lot of injuries of people getting hit in the face with these, lots of people losing eyes from these things. And yeah, the past week has definitely been crazy, and I think the past 3 days or so, things have started to calm down, and we're very grateful for that. But I definitely want to encourage people to stay out there, keep protesting, do it safely, bring water, bring masks. get COVID testing done whenever you are able to there are various locations to do that still. And yeah.
All right. Thanks, Alex, for sharing your experience.
Yeah, thank you, Martin, and the IGDA folks for giving the opportunity for me to talk about what's going on out here. And yeah, I reiterate what everyone else has said, that this is an inclusive space, and I'm very happy to see us talking about these issues.
All right. If that's it, and I think it is, the next thing that we want to, the next part of the evening, and actually let me just, sorry, I'm just going to close our chat, Alex. Shoot, what am I doing? Sorry, everyone, where are we? I guess I'm back here. Okay, so next we're gonna have a talk by Peter Yang, and actually maybe I could. Oh shoot! This is exactly how the evening's been going.
You're good, man. I got you.
That I wanted to show. So I think Peter is on, correct?
Yeah, I'm streaming my screen to you if you want to.
I do want to do that. I have to see it. Okay, yes, watch the stream, and then hold on, give me a second. I have to make sure the stream is actually doing that. It's not yet.
It's all right. I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody who has spoken today. I'm very glad to hear also IGDATC has taken the stance that we have to help promote togetherness and stand together as gamers united. But yes, even though we're all far away physically from each other, I still want to go ahead and talk about playtesting because it's such an important part, integral part of how we develop games and how we both get feedback and improve what we're working on. And so even during this during this pandemic, we were working towards there's always something that we can do to reach out to others and work together to always get feedback. And the one thing I've been working on recently has just been this little thing on Tabletop Simulator. This is a prototype that if you have come out to a couple other events like Brews and Board Games, I've been playtesting Tic Tac Towers with my designed by my brother Patrick. And it's a pretty easy game in which a player is trying to make 3 connections of 3 in a row by placing their towers on any space with no tower on them. But of course, what you do is that to make a connection of 3, you must have 3 diagonally, horizontally, vertically. But you could also move opponents' towers. So you cannot play a tower on top of a tower, but if you place your tower next to another tower, it will cause that tower to move orthogonally in whatever direction the player wants. But how I did a lot of testing and development with this through Tabletop Simulator. And it's actually just been really fun because I had some help with some friends importing these 3D models, these OBJs. I've been learning a little bit about Blender, and learning how to make some Blender-ish things, and importing that into Tabletop has been an adventure. It's in a virtual church. No, it's not. It's not Fuse. It's just this is the background that we got with Tabletop Simulator, but it does kind of match the theme because these are just currently towers. But with this game is that it's just been being able to say that even though we're so far apart from each other, we still can reach out to each other and play things online. And I just want to say, just as a tabletop developer myself, two of the biggest things that I've seen is Tabletop Simulator versus Tabletopia. And Tabletopia is also another really, really easy to use. I'm going to pull it up here because I actually forgot to put it on the slide in my deck here. But Tabletopia is an incredible asset, and it's also free. So what you could do is basically you could find and play. It's incredibly easy. There are all these games you can jump into, and by clicking into it, like this 5 players playing Secret Hitler, I could take a seat, and I could immediately start playing this game with another person. And it's that easy to join. It's how that's why Tabletopia has been made such a good so much ground. Oh my goodness, is it coming up? It's not coming up on the stream. Oh no, that's okay. But easy to say that Tabletopia is incredibly sassy. I meant to say easy. Oh, we're gonna fix that really quick here because I can, and this is the power that I have. Easy to share and play, not sassy. Easy to share and play. Yeah, but it's basically just you create an account. Anyone can create an account, and it's free to use, of course. But you just send them a link, and they can just click on that link and immediately take a seat on that game that you're working on. You could even open it up to public playtesting. You can also just keep it secluded. It is incredibly flexible for what you pay for, which of course is free. It is a little bit harder to build in, which is the only detriment. Tabletop Simulator has been around, I think, a little bit longer than Tabletopia, which makes it so that Tabletop Simulator has a lot of good importing data. Even just learning how to send in a deck and sizing a deck is a little bit tricky, but once you've learned it, it makes a lot more sense. But of course, it comes in a price point, which is $25, and is sometimes on sales and in bundles. But this is just a good way to say if you're working on something physical that you would not want to make a board game and you want people to play it, this is a great way to go about getting players to come join you and for getting feedback. The next one I was going to talk about is of course plugging next Wednesday's event is the playtest event, Twin Cities Gamedev playtest next month. This is a little screenshot of the Mark's owl box, which he was using for all the games we were running last month. So we have Cube, which is something I'm working on. This Pestilence, Leon Knights was good. Chop Shop, and these are all the what is it? UW Stout Gamedev, UW Stout Senior projects, I think. But yeah, these are the games we kind of pulled out and had a chance to play through with people live, and they were able to just Parsec in. And if you guys haven't tried out Parsec, it is incredibly flexible. And there's some troubleshooting that we had to do with Mark. I was able to play. So this absolutely roundabout way. I was trying to Parsec with my PC into Mark's computer, but it was getting a lot of lag. But then I also Parsec through my laptop and hooked up my controller, and so I was able to use the controller hooked up to my laptop, Parsec into Mark's all box, and then also Parsec with my desktop to get the visuals. And I was able to play just fine, with all this roundabout setup. But that's how good Parsec was. I was very impressed with it. Up there.
I think we're back.
It looks like we're back.
Yeah, I think it looks like we're back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, we're fine, man. This is just it's all part of the joys of online playtesting, or the joys of just doing things digitally. There's always pros and cons. Things are going to happen. I'll work back a little bit from the last story, and I'll just basically tell it that one of the best things about playing with Parsec is that you can do it live and have combine it with a chat service, and people in the stream can jump in on the game via a link that the person who's using Parsec can send out to anybody, and that person can just jump in. Whoever is the host can give and take player controls and permissions to them. And the story I was telling before was about Shepherd Sky, which is an amazing game of a shepherd fly fishing for their sheep against wolf clops. I think it was called wolf clops. Wolves with a single eye. It was pretty great. But the story again was Mark and I were playing through it, and we were kind of harping on the developers for not putting a secret behind the waterfalls. And we're just like, oh, come on, guys. That's gamer satisfaction 101. You have to have secrets behind the waterfalls. And then the developers were in the chat yelling at us well, not yelling, but they're just there is a sheep behind there, but you have to solve it this way. But that's kind of the joys of doing the playtest live with Parsec. Because again, if you just combine it with a Discord or chat service, players can hop in ask their questions live or get feedback directly to you. And it's just an incredibly useful thing, an incredibly useful tool to have. The last thing I want to talk about is just having communities. So not only do you want to have the tools, there are tools available out there for you for playtesting. It's just a matter of just also you want to have the people. And just like if you reach out and find people, there are people out there to play. And just like everyone that we have here, we have 22 viewers in stream right now. I'm sure we can get 1 or 2 of them happily to come in next Wednesday to come playtest one of your games out there. So there's communities everywhere. There's things like locally. There's, of course, IGDA, Glitch, Twin Cities Gamedev. Abroad, these are some of the tabletop playtesting groups that I have the pleasure of being a part of. But there's also social media. There's a couple of people like follow developers and communities for opportunities because you just never know what things are going to be happening. Like next Wednesday from June 17th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. we'll be on this stream, IGDA TC, playtesting games live with other people. I'm just saying, it's just there. You are interested also, of course, join our Discord because we'll be hosting everything out of the Discord, which has been really successful. Like hopping in and out of Launch 1, Launch 2, the event stage. Just having this setup has been incredibly helpful. I'm just saying that like the next stage beyond this is to scale it up to have more play testers and have more developers. But we're happy just to keep it within like 5 games, so on and so forth, within the 3-hour time span. We give each game about 30 minutes to 45, almost to an hour, depending on if like the crowd's really into it. but we're also happy to say like maybe we'll say past 9 o'clock. It depends on how the night goes, but we're always happy to say, oh, goodbye. See Poston 2018. You gotta go. I see you in chat. I see you. But last thing is then to keep connected and stay open-minded. Because I will say I'm excited to announce that the game that I showed you on Tabletop Simulator got into Origins Online. I got into the publisher speed dating with Origins Online. It's very exciting. Yay! But it's just a matter of like, if you aren't a part of the communities and you aren't like reaching out, searching for the things, you won't find the opportunities to grow your game, and also won't find the opportunities to put yourself out there. And so I'm telling you all right now that if you want to get your game tested or put your game in front of others, there's an event next Wednesday that's available for you both to play a game, also to showcase your game. So it's always a good thing to do both. So, but that's my talk. Again, if you want to reach out, my email is yangx997, Gmail, Twitter, and my Discord. We are also in, of course, Twin Cities Game Dev Discord. You can check us out there. You can add me, tweet at me, just DM me, all that stuff, and we'll happily get your game on stream. All right, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. All right, so I think we're just gonna roll right into. Okay, close that stream. In fact, I think I can close this whole window. Maybe. How do I do that? Who knows? I guess I disconnect. Okay, there we go. We're gonna roll right into our next and final presentation for the evening. I've got to find him. Like everybody can hear my call joining.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey. All right, let me go and mute my Twitch stream real fast.
Probably a good idea.
There we are. Okay, you can still hear me?
Yeah, we can, but I think I need to configure which window we're showing here quick.
Okay, and I haven't shared my screen yet, but just let me know when you want me to.
Go for it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And before we actually get started, too, I will just add to what everyone says is that kudos, great hearing from everybody. Shout out to everybody who has spoken so far. And interestingly, I joined IGDA Twin Cities a little over a year ago, and being legally blind myself, I was actually kind of unsure because I didn't think that there would be anyone else with a disability or low vision or anything like that. And so, I was a little bit nervous as like, oh, how is this going to go? But everyone's been great, and it's just been it's been an awesome thing to do. So I just really wanted to say that as well. So.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, are we good?
I think so.
Okay, let me get over to my PowerPoint real quick. Okay, are we ready to go?
Yep, we're ready to rock. Thank you, Jesse.
Is it shared?
Yeah, it's on the stream.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All of a sudden I don't hear you.
Oh, you know what? That's actually because I muted myself.
Okay. So we're ready to go?
Sorry. Yep. Yeah, we're totally ready to go. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. No problem. Like I said, just wondering with all the techie things we've been going on. All right. I will get started here in just a second then.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, hello. This is Jesse Anderson here, and it's great to be speaking here in front of you guys today. And I got a lot to go through, so we'll just get right into it here. As I said, my name is Jesse Anderson, and during the day, I work as an assistive technology specialist for the state of Minnesota at State Services for the Blind, where basically we try to help people help blind, visually impaired people get ultimately employed. And so that's what I do for my day job. I do have a bachelor's degree in information technology management and a minor in scientific and technical communication. Got my master's in instructional design and technology. I have been legally blind my whole life. I was born that way, and thankfully my vision has remained stable. So glad to have the vision that I do. I've been gaming as long as I can remember. So, I kind of grew up in the Atari 2600, Commodore 64 days, and that was really cool. But then when the NES came out, then that's all it was. Like, then I knew I was hooked and I had to do something in technology and gaming and that kind of stuff. I am a game technology and XR technology advocate and consultant. So I do try to work with developers to help make their games accessible. Sometimes they reach out to me. Sometimes I reach out to them, depending on if it's a game that I really want to play or that I might be interested in. Or sometimes, like I said, they kind of reach out to me. And that's kind of why I joined. I started going to the IGDA meetings, is because I was interested in talking with more developers and just meeting people in that area. I do have my own YouTube channel and Mixer stream. It's under Illegally Cited. That's where the title came from. It's kind of this weird, goofy little spin on the whole legally blind term that I found kind of amusing. I have done presentations before, one in 2017 on VR accessibility for blind and low vision that is archived on their website, as well as my YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, I'll mention it again later. Last year, I was part of a panel on blind and low vision accessibility at the 3rd Annual Game Accessibility Conference. It was right next to GDC last year. That was awesome. So, there's games coming out all the time, and it's so hard to get noticed, and, what can differentiate your game from everybody else's? And, what if I told you that there's actually a large group of people that maybe you haven't even considered, but that would love to play your game. And that's what we're going to talk largely about here today. Before we go any further, I want to talk a little bit about accessibility itself. I like this definition here, which is it is a mismatch between an individual and their environment, situation, or society. So it doesn't focus so much on the person with a disability, or it doesn't focus on the person, but more like, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses and abilities. But, it's kind of a mismatch, whatever they're interacting with. In this case, PC, console, mobile, whatever, that kind of a thing. Accessibility equals money. So, like I said before, this is an overlooked market, often overlooked. We do have disposable income. We do play games. We want to play games. We would love to, as long as we're able to play them. And one thing that you'll find is because right now, there's a lot happening in accessibility, and it's really, really a great time. But there's still a lot of games that don't include accessibility features in them. And so the games that do include that, what you'll find is if your game includes that and people find out about it, you publicize it, which I would highly recommend that you do if you include accessibility features, that you'll get some really loyal customers because someone bothered, to make a game that they were able to play. And finally, it's gaming is for everybody. What helps people with disabilities will also help everyone. Think about the curb cuts in the sidewalks. Yes, it's helpful for wheelchairs, but it's also great for strollers and carts and dollies and all kinds of stuff. And if you're trying to reach as many people as possible, hey, why not people with disabilities? So there's a couple different ways people typically look at disability, like the categories on the left. You have your vision, hearing, motor, cognitive impairment, and even aging. We're all going to get old someday. I know my first-person shooter reflexes are probably not what they used to be. So, as we age, we're probably going to often, experience some kind of a disability. But then the stuff that people don't really think about as often is things like temporary or situational things. So you broke your arm and now you can't use your controller the way you always do. It's at night. You don't want to disturb the family with your surround sound system, so you have the volume low and you turn subtitles on so you can better understand the story. You're holding your kid, or you're partying with friends and you're playing games and you're holding a drink, holding a beer. So those are things that everybody currently encounters. Couple just some background, like disability stats. A recent study, so you had people that were like 20% of people under age 65, 50% over 65 who identified as having a disability. The problem is a lot of people don't actually identify as having a disability if they're asked in a survey, because they don't really want to disclose that, or they're just uncomfortable with it. They don't want some of the perceptions, like people, like again, you find out that somebody has a disability and they feel like they're going to be treated differently. So if you're curious about that information, like you want to get some demographics for your game, one approach might be to instead kind of ask task-based questions. Do you have trouble, leave disability out of it per se, but just ask things like, do you have trouble reading a newspaper or dialing a phone? Or think of other common tasks that might relate to your game or that you might do in real life. And so let's see. Here's a few gaming related bits of information I found particularly interesting. So under 1% of people identified as being one-handed, but 1/3 of Uncharted 4 players actually used the one-handed mode. So maybe people, like I said, they were holding their kid, or they had a drink in their hand, or for whatever reason. This one is really interesting. So hearing impaired, 15% identified as having a hearing impairment. However, 97% of Far Cry New Dawn players used subtitles. So that's that says that subtitles are definitely useful for a lot of people. And finally, 75% of people who played Into the Dead used their alternate control scheme because they found it easier to use. So having those alternate control schemes can be really helpful. Accessibility myths. Yeah, a lot of people still kind of have these misconceptions about people with disabilities. Like, people with disabilities don't play games. They can't play games. They don't play them. Yeah, actually, we do. We love them just as much as everybody else. We do play them. We want to play them. Another one is that accessibility will compromise the original vision of my game. Like I'll have to dumb it down or, take away features. That is absolutely not the case, and this is becoming more and more true every day. I'm going to have some screenshots and videos and stuff later in the presentation that really kind of demonstrate some of the recent games that have, in fact, done great. It is too costly for too small of a population, and again, I would definitely disagree with that. Yes, it can be harder. It can cost more resources, people, money, otherwise, if you bolt on accessibility late in the process or post launch, because you have to try to retrofit things in, just like if you were going to retrofit any other feature into a game late in development. So if you treat accessibility just as another core design piece, just like you would your graphics, your AI, your audio, or any other system that you have in the game, if that's just a core component, then it just kind of works along with everything else, and it should be a lot easier and not really that costly. Test early and often. Again, just like any other feature, you want to keep testing early and often. And really important part here, include people with disabilities in your consulting and testing process. There are plenty of people out there in social media that would be more than happy to help out, do beta tests, consulting roles. I actually have a gig tomorrow morning, which is really cool. So yeah, we're out there and we'll be glad to help. And who better to know how an accessibility feature should work than the people needing them when they play? So here are just a whole list of games. I'm not going to run through them, but there's just a whole bunch of them. We got PC, console, mobile. These are all just different games that have accessibility features of some sort in them, some more than others, but some of them, all of these have had some form of accessibility. And there's indie games in here like Eagle Island, Sequence Storm. There's AAA games in here, Mortal Kombat 11, Crackdown 3, Gears 5, all kinds of different things. So it runs the spectrum, and like I said, there's a lot of cool things happening in accessibility. And there's one that's not in this presentation that I'm going to end the presentation talking about, because since after I created this presentation, and it's amazing. I cannot wait. So, common accessibility features, like what do people consider common accessibility features? Things like difficulty settings, and we'll talk more about that later. Customizable controls, subtitles and captions, text UI text and UI customization. So HUDs, text size, color, contrast, all that kind of a thing. Little subnote under that, I had to mention this. For the past year and a half, I've heard so many even fully sighted players complaining and talking about, God, the text in these games is so small, I can barely read it. And I've heard that from podcasts and social media everywhere. And believe me, I totally agree with them. It's even harder if you're blind or low vision. So, please, enough with the small text. Let's get some readable text in these games again. Text to speech or human narrated audio. Again, I'm going to be demonstrating some of this at the end of the presentation. Extra navigation audio cues or item and enemy audio cues. So if you're you're blind and you need to be able to get around the game environment, how do I find enemies, consumable items that I can pick up, or weapons? How do I find my next waypoint or objective? That kind of a thing. Haptic feedback. And you can have all of these different things. Like you can have mixtures, or people, if you have all of these different types of options, people can kind of choose what works for them. And yeah. So here's a little bit on blind and low vision. So a lot of people, again, kind of a misconception that, kind of people think of you're either fully sighted, you're totally blind, or maybe you have kind of a low vision. There's 2 or 3 different levels. And that's actually not really true. First, people who are identified as legally blind often do have some remaining vision. I want to say it's like 90% of legally blind people are actually not totally blind. So you could be totally blind, you could have light perception, maybe light perception and some shadow, see some shadows. Like I said, legally blind is, really low vision. You could have peripheral or central vision loss. You could have blind spots, cataracts, light sensitivity or glare sensitivity, or any combination, again, of these different things. So, even designing with low vision in mind, there's not really one size fits all type of design, because everyone's vision is so different. Some people like a light background, for instance. I don't. I particularly love being in dark modes, dark themes and stuff like that. So just an example, combinations of these things. Blind and low vision accessibility features, a little bit more specific here. So again, font size and color contrast. A clear readable font, it's really weird old English fonts and stuff like that, really stylized or cursive is very difficult to read. But having color contrast, not having the text just on top of the game environment. Some games do that where it's just text is just kind of slapped on the game environment that, that's textured and stuff, and it's really hard to see that way. So all that kind of stuff. Dimmable backgrounds. I've seen this in a few different games, especially like 2D games where you can dim like your parallax scrolling backgrounds so that your character, enemies, items, all that kind of foreground stuff can pop out more, and it's a lot easier to see. And this is especially the case if you have really colorful, really busy backgrounds. Large movable UI. So being able to kind of customize, again, your HUD, like Minecraft Dungeons did this, where you can make the HUD on the bottom actually a lot bigger. Maybe you can move your mini map to a different corner that's easier for somebody to see, that kind of a thing. Large in-world navigation. I'm going to have a screenshot or two of this. This is really, like, open world games, I love them, but they're some of the most difficult to play if not done well for low vision, because what are you doing a lot of time? You're looking at the mini map, then you're looking at the road, you're looking at the mini map, and for someone who has to kind of concentrate on one or the other, it can be really tough to kind of go back and forth. So things like Saints Row 3 and 4, Red Faction Guerrilla have these big open, or these big in-world glowy arrows, or think of the Fable breadcrumb trails, that kind of a thing. Extra audio and haptic cues. Again, I kind of touched on that a little bit in the last slide. Text to speech wherever possible. So if something is conveyed to the user visually, being able to access that same information in some other way, be it like a controller vibration, text-to-speech prompt, or audio sound effect, or a combination, just being able to access that same information. And if you're thinking about, like, what would it be like? How could I develop and get on the right track for developing accessibility for blind and low vision? Try playing your game, turn your monitor off, or close your eyes, and just kind of start playing the game. Start navigating your menus, start playing the game. And, while you're doing that, ask yourself, like, okay, what information am I missing? Do I know what I need? Obviously I'm probably going to need some narrated menus and stuff. But when I'm in the game, what am I supposed to do next? Is it clear? Is it clear where I have to go and what I'm supposed to do or how I'm supposed to do it? And if not, then there's actually some more cues that need to be in the game so like a blind player can understand it. Again, testing early and often, and including blind and low vision consultants and testers throughout your development process is key to actually making it right. Because what happens, not just with games, but I've seen it with like programs and websites and stuff, like, if you're fully sighted, let's say, you might have an idea of what you think might work well for someone who is blind or who is low vision. But you might actually find out that, actually, this doesn't really work that well for, X reason. And so, having a blind or visually impaired tester, kind of being able to explain that or demonstrate that for you can be really helpful. like I said, I did a presentation a couple years ago. All of the information in it is pretty much exactly, it's still super relevant to VR. I did that ID24 presentation on blind and low vision accessibility in virtual reality, but I'll do a quick overview here. One of the main common problems is like text and other user interface, tutorials, skill trees, inventories. A lot of that stuff is either too small or too far away. So it's hard coded to be, oh, this is going to be virtually 3 feet in front of you. You try to move forward, it moves back away from you. So that makes it really frustrating. A combination of small text or small UI and being really far away. Related to that, adding full 6 degrees of tracking. So not just look up, down, left, right, but being able to support, leaning or moving in any direction to get closer to something in the environment. So this includes things in the environment that you're interacting with, but it also would include, menus and user interface elements. So if I need to read a tutorial, can I do that? Can I get close enough to do that? Or my inventory, etc. Free movement or even free teleport is, believe it or not, helpful for low vision, because some titles, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, you're in a room, you have three set teleport locations. Well, that's okay, but let's say, again, I need to read something or I need to see some detail of something in the environment. If I'm stuck to those fixed points, I can only go so far. But if I can freely move, as I would in a traditional game, or at least freely teleport, I can set my teleport point or move right in front of whatever it is that I need to see up close. So that can actually be really helpful. Again, text-to-speech, having text-to-speech wherever possible, especially narrated menus and UI and things like that. Again, I've said it before, including blind and visually impaired testers throughout the process. Should sound familiar. There is a project from Microsoft called Seeing VR. It is a suite of tools that is in development. They're kind of working with it with Unity right now. I don't think it's in a stage where developers can make use of it yet, but they do have a YouTube video. If you look up just Seeing VR, they have a video that's like a 7-minute video demonstrating its features, and it's really, really cool. And on my channel, I've actually done a video that has my own kind of commentary and thoughts over it, because I saw this and was blown away. I'm like, oh, I need this yesterday. I really want a tool like this yesterday because it has so many great things in it. Okay, and now we're going to get into the fun stuff. So the screenshots and videos and such. These are just the first couple of screenshots here are just some accessibility menus in a couple of games. First one being Eagle Island. Eagle Island, we're going to refer to this one a lot. And this one is from Sequence Storm. It is a rhythm racing game for PC, and it's pretty awesome. It has so many accessibility features. It has full text-to-speech everywhere throughout the game. It is playable by totally blind players from start to finish. But there's all kinds of other, things. So if you have a hearing impairment, you can adjust the audio. There's so many things here. And there's even more because some of these things actually have submenus. Control remapping, these are just a couple of examples. So like Way of the Pacifist, a lot of games have them, but actually a lot of them don't. And one thing to also note is that if you're supporting multiple control methods like keyboard, mouse, controller, specialized inputs like the Microsoft Adaptive Controller, all of those different types. So, maybe they'll have customization for the keyboard and mouse, but not a controller, or vice versa. All of these input methods should be able to be customizable and not just rely on the system scheme. Because if that were the case, that's just kind of a band-aid, and then you're actually having, if you're the user, you may have to reset the control scheme for every different game that you want to play. So having these features in the game is actually really worth it. Another, again, Eagle Island, similar thing. And when you're talking about like controls, there are other different things just besides the controls themselves. You have things like auto lock on, disabling QuickTime events, pressing and toggling instead of holding. If you have to do like if you're holding to aim, maybe you can toggle to aim, or hold for quick time events instead of tapping repeatedly. Auto targeting, all kinds of different things that relate to actually playing the game. I talked a little bit about difficulty earlier, and there's a couple of really cool examples. So you have Celeste here, and it was really cool what they did, because they don't just have easy, medium, and hard, your traditional type of difficulty. Instead, they have different types of assists and options to where, I can slow down the speed of the game if I can't, my reflexes I can't react that quickly. Or I can be immune to spikes. And there's all kinds of different assists that they have here. Another really cool example that I forgot to put on here was Shadow of the Tomb Raider. They had 3 different categories of difficulty. So you had like exploration, combat, and puzzle solving. And you could, I think there was, I don't remember if they were sliders or if they were just like easy, medium, and hard. But the point is, you could actually adjust, depending on what your skill level for each of those areas is, you could adjust those separately, which I thought was fantastic. Similar type of issue here, we have Way of the Pacifist difficulty settings. You could adjust like enemy speed and frequency and how aggressive they were. They all have kind of sliders, so you could really tone that in and customize how you wanted it to. Visual settings, again, back to Eagle Island. Again, this is when I was referring to being able to dim the background. You could because there was a lot of, bright colored and busy backgrounds, and some of the enemies could kind of blend in. So you could dim that a little bit. But then you could turn on things like having outlines for your main character, or ledges and platforms, or enemies, or items. So you had all kinds of cool visuals that you can toggle on. Way of the Pacifist. They had a screen dimming feature, background dimming feature, and other visual settings as shown here. Post-launch, The Outer Worlds, I played this at launch and had a lot of trouble reading some of the text because it was kind of small. Post-launch, they added basically a screen text scaling option. They had a couple of GIFs that I grabbed from their Twitter. There is what it was originally. A little bigger. Definitely a little more readable. Another example here. So yeah, look at all this text here. And if you're low vision, one of the things that I always say is that I want to save the vision that I do have for playing the game. And if I had text to speech in that, I could, give my eyes a rest and actually be able to hear the text out loud and save my vision for actually playing the game instead of trying to read endless amounts of text in some of these games. Dialogue, again, tiny, actually readable. So just a few examples from what they did post-launch of The Outer Worlds. I mentioned silhouettes and things like that, and Left 4 Dead is one of my favorite games ever, along with the original Doom. But one of the things, I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to play the Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 games because, it's, I don't want to be the guy who ends up shooting their teammate because they thought they were a zombie, and I want to contribute. But they actually have these silhouettes. You see Francis there in the middle. He's kind of got that outline around him, and if he's hurt, his outline will turn red. You have the outline for the med kit over there in the center. So it would be easy for me to miss ammo pickups, weapons, health kits, pills, and I can see where my teammates are. If they have a highlight on them, don't shoot them. So that's really helpful. This is what I was talking about earlier, in-world navigation. I really generally hate mini-maps. I hate them because I have to try to watch the road and look at that tiny little mini-map in the corner. But Saints Row the Third, you have these nice glowy arrows that point, like this one is hey, take a left at the next corner here. Extremely helpful. This is one of the first open world games that I was really able to comfortably finish because I was able to get to my mission objectives for the most part, and it was just so much easier to do. I didn't have to look at the mini-map. Red Faction Guerrilla does something similar, except they said, hey, let's just put the arrows on the ground, these glowy arrows, and then they just follow the road, the path that you're supposed to take. And this game with its destruction is awesome, by the way. I love it. So that's what they did there. And like I said, Fable, the Fable series used their breadcrumbs. Finally, screen reader or text-to-speech support. Eagle Island, again, the PC version anyway, has full text-to-speech support, which I will demo here in just a moment. But you have not only the text-to-speech on and off, but especially for low vision or blind users who are used to this, being able to adjust the text-to-speech speed is actually very important, because a lot of people get used to it and they just, they need it faster, or new people need it slower. And then being able to adjust the text-to-speech separately from the regular volume is also a big plus, so I can actually hear it over the music or sound effects. Videos, hopefully this will work. So I have a few video clips, and these are just some short clips that that show some of the text-to-speech stuff and some of the mainstream games that they are in. These are all mainstream games. These are not games that are audio games that are specifically developed just for blind people. These are mainstream games. A big one here, Mortal Kombat 11. Now this one, they used actual narration by the game's announcer, which sounds really cool, and it does sound cool, but the disadvantage to that is that every little voice prompt has to be recorded. So they just released a couple of weeks ago the Aftermath DLC, and they would have to, if they added new prompts or new menu items, they would have to record voice prompts for those. And if you had text-to-speech, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that, but here's a clip.
Conquer. Fight. Customize.
I wish I could have that as a text-to-speech announcer. He just sounds badass.
Story. Towers of Time.
Now, when you get into the actual game and you want to look at the move list or option menus, the problem is there's so much of them that those are not supported by this human narration. So that is the major disadvantage to doing it this way.
Collection.
Especially if you have a lot of information.
Learn. Practice. Tutorial.
The other thing, when you're selecting a character,
Basics.
it does not read it aloud as you're moving through the character list. You have to select the character, hear the character name, and then if that's not the one you want, you hit B to back out. And I'll demonstrate that here in a second.
Towers of Time.
That's where I'm going right now.
Classic Towers.
Hopefully everyone can hear this okay.
Scorpion.
So I go in there, I have to back out. Nope, don't want that. So you have to go in and out instead of just being able to arrow through and have them read aloud. I'm going to show you another fighting game that does a little bit more in just a bit. And that's pretty much it for this one. The only thing that's really left is, like I said, once you go into the pause menu in-game, it doesn't read anything, unfortunately. No move lists, nothing. So you got to look that stuff up online or just experiment. Give it a second here. Come on.
Round 1. Fight.
So from here on, nothing. So that's the bummer about having narrated menus, because if you were going to record prompts for every little option, let's say you added options or something, there's a lot there. So that's it for Mortal Kombat. Eagle Island, I'll just do a little bit here and show you. Again, this is using in-game text-to-speech, the Windows 10 text-to-speech. I like this music, by the way.
Slot 2, Slot 1.
And everything in this game reads. It's so cool.
Settings, language, join the community on Discord, credits, exit game.
And in addition, all of the text for all the dialogue and stuff is nice and large, which you'll see shortly.
Gameplay tweaks, instructions,
all the menus speak.
UI settings, controls, audio settings.
If he adds or changes anything, it'll speak.
Gameplay tweaks, accept. These settings are a departure from Eagle Island.
Nice contrast on the left there, large text.
May unbalance the game. S ranks are unavailable using these options.
I want to show you
Accept.
one more little bit
Cancel.
before we. I know we're pressed on
Accessibility.
time, so
Back.
I want to keep moving. But
Controls.
there's a
Save.
few other. There's one other thing I want to show here in this
Screen
video.
reader. Save. Visuals. Save. Back.
So yeah, everything is reading. So we're going to go
Delete
into the
slot
actual
one.
game itself, and it's not just the
Slot two.
menus. So as I arrow through my inventory, the in-game
Island
store
overworld.
that you find in the levels, all of those things can
Resume.
read. So
Zephyrus Feather. Icarus Feather. Achievement. Set. Exit game. Settings. Achievements. Lava Leaper. Lava Leaper. Vanilla Killer. Treasure. Hodge. Rogue. Apprentice. Rogue. Apprentice.
but you'll see
developers.
you'll see the in-game text here in just a second, and then we'll move on.
Resume. Zephyrus Feather.
But I was so impressed with this.
Zephyrus Feather.
Look at how nice and large and clear, like good contrast. But that text, what a lot of probably fully sighted people think that's ridiculously large. But what might be ridiculously large for some people may actually be very, very good for others. So that text again is very nice. That's what I wanted to show you guys. So let's move on. Here's a quick thing of Sequence Storm, that rhythm racing game. Again, awesome menu music.
Downloading. Welcome to Sequence Storm.
I love
Main
this.
Menu. Vertical menu with arcade button.
And the
Continue
gameplay
button,
itself,
arcade
they do
button,
have a
options
blind
button,
accessible mode,
press-
which I do
options,
show a
vertical
measure
menu
or
with
two
22
of.
items. Selected. Accessibility button. Accessibility options. Vertical menu with 29 items. Selected. Narration checkbox. Checked. Narration speed selection. Selected. Normal. Narration volume. Clipboard narration checkbox. Audio cues button. And game speed selection. High contrast mode checkbox. Checked. Reduced flashing checkbox. Options. Game mode selection. Selected. Audible cues 1. Listen to and repeat the audible note patterns. This is visible cues, the typical rhythm game mode where notes appear on the track.
Kind of like your Guitar Hero Rock
Audible cues
Band-esque
1. Listen to
note
and repeat
highway.
the audible note patterns. This is a blind accessible mode.
Heck yeah.
Main menu. Arcade button.
So I'll go into a song here and just do like I said, there's only a measure, a couple measures.
Hide and seek. Good
But
life.
everything reads.
and
Even in story mode,
Rated 12.
he went so far as there's pictures during the story mode,
Options.
he actually describes them in extra text if you have the voice, the text to speech on, which I was like just blown away.
Selected. Speed. Press rivals. Value 0. Show ghosts checkbox. Not checked. Mode selection. Selected. Speed. Press left and right to change. Loading track.
So here we go. Basically, it's like a measure at a time, and they do like a Simon Says thing. No visuals, really. So you're repeating. They do it, and then you repeat it. And they get way harder, trust me. This game is really hard, even on normal settings. I suck bad. Now we're going to get a couple patterns that are... There you go. And you can have anywhere from on easy 4 to 9 inputs at a time, which, I mean, 4 is crazy enough. 9, I can't even imagine. That's just crazy. So here is that other game, Skullgirls for PC. It's a 2D fighter, and this doesn't use its own text-to-speech. Instead, what it does is it makes use of whatever screen reader you choose to use. JAWS, the free NVDA screen reader. So in this video, I start up NVDA. That's what you hear there. Boom, got it. And then we launch.
Steam.
This was
Over
the
Steam.
first game,
Steam.
first mainstream game that that I ever played that had start to close of game full text to speech, and I was just blown. It blew my mind. I'm like, man, somebody proved that it can be done. And you know, if you don't have a screen reader running, it's just totally normal. But again, all of your menus here are going to speak
Single player.
using
Versus.
your NVDA, your
Single
free
player.
screen reader.
Versus.
nvaccess.org, by the
Help
way,
and
if you want to
options.
check it out.
Exit game. Help and options. Help and options.
Now watch when we go to the move
Choose
list.
controllers. Controls. Choose controllers. Settings. Video settings. Command list. Back. Command list. Command list. Universal commands.
Yep, universal
Manual.
or character specific.
Universal commands. throw, air, switch team, throw, air OK, LPLK when close to opponent.
And you got to know what like
or HPHK.
HP or LK. You got to know what those mean, of course. But
manual dash, air OK, Beowulf, cheap pop LP, hold to build hype. Pipe bomb MP.
so they all read.
Cheer stampede,
This was
in air,
amazing.
D plus
The
HK.
story mode, it read the
Alpha
text
grapple
in
attack HP
that.
without cheer.
And again, when you select the characters in here,
Help and options.
you don't have to go in and then back out. You just arrow through, and it just, it reads them as you arrow to them,
Voice
which
volume
I'll show you here in just a
voice
second. All of the options read, unlike Mortal Kombat 11, because it's all just using your screen reader, text-to-speech.
Achievements, leaderboards, extras, single player, arcade
Hop
mode,
in here.
story mode, arcade mode.
Yep, go in there.
2 high-powered characters.
I'm really, really
Three
bad at
normal
this
power
game, by the
characters.
way. It
1
is
super powerful
really
character.
hard.
2 high-powered characters. Random, P1. Zero
So
villain,
watch as I'm
P1.
arrowing through.
P1. Robo Fortune, P1. P1. Robo Fortune.
Instant,
Ryzen,
no
P1.
backing or
Advanced,
hitting it and
P1.
going back out again.
P1. Pain wheel, P1.
Pain
Human dash, H. Random, P1. C.HP cremation. Center stage.
Ready?
Tally-ho!
C.HP cremation.
And we'll wrap this
Center
one up in
stage.
just a
Custom
sec.
action. Center stage. C.HP cremation. Bathotechnic.
One of Brain's toys to smash! Quiet on the set! Action!
Oh, that robot, I hate that robot. So brutal.
Just a moment!
And so again, I can go to my current character, like, oh, what are the move lists for that again?
Universal commands. Current character.
Boom, current
Magic copy
character.
plus HK6,
Move list is
plug.
there.
Here, okay.
So
Using
again,
plus
for
H.
time, I'm just going to
Plus,
wrap this up
like-
here. Let's go to the next one. Now, there are 2 more clips that I need to show. These weren't originally in the presentation because I didn't know about them at the time, but these are recent ones in the last month that I learned about. This one is amazing. This is Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, which if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you can actually play for free through the Windows Game Store or the Windows 10 store. And, I remember playing this game back in the day a little bit because my friends in college were hooked on it. I tried, but I gave up on it really quickly because there was just so many icons, so many small things everywhere. I did a video on it on my channel and go into a lot more detail of what's good and bad, where what needs improvement. But what they did is they added like full text-to-speech. Everything that you move your mouse over, it reads. The main thing that it needs really is you hit the control key to shut up. That's kind of the universal text-to-speach screen reader command to stop speech. But check
Learn to
this
play.
out.
The
Even
art of
during
war.
gameplay,
Historical battles.
This is
campaigns,
amazing.
Standard game. Multiplayer. The art of war. Learn to play. Learn to play by helping William Wallace rise from his 6. 4. Research.
so it's reading the map things as you hover
Training
your
the
mouse
troops.
over. I don't know why this recording didn't pick up on the mouse
In
pointer,
villages
but
throughout the Highlands. Back.
it's basically reading everything that's under your
Click to
mouse.
cancel.
We lost the town of Dunbar this week. Scottish defenders broke ranks and fled. The English have an army that is larger and better trained.
To compete with them. We
So
are
it's reading the
going to
text
do
even in that
to
little
pick
box,
up
although
back.
since it's already narrated, I would
Click to
I would
cancel.
love to be able to just hit the control key and silent speech until something new comes up, so I just hovered over the back button so it would be quiet. This is where it gets really cool, because it's not just menus, this is actual gameplay. I might actually try and play through this game now, because I actually kind of can.
Game paused. Shows
Got
the
your
main
objective there.
objectives. Shows the train for militia. Shows the objectives. Shows the objectives. Close. Game resumed. Click a villager to
Zoom in a bit.
gather wood from this
To
tree.
win, you will need to create 4 militia.
If I hover
select
over
this
even
villager.
things in the
Click to
environment,
select
like
right click to
trees,
gather wood.
buildings,
Click to select this
soldiers,
building. Click to
Then
Villagers.
Create villager
Create
button
villager.
in the lower left.
The
the
Cause
icons
for
themselves in the corners there,
gathers resources.
at the top and the bottom.
Builds
It takes
and
time
repairs
for the villagers
buildings.
to appear.
Also
If your
repairs
type
ships.
says
It
and
reads
siege
the
weapons.
tips.
You can see
Create
the progress
set
in the
gather
state
It reads
line
everything.
at the bottom of the screen.
Right click to place a gather point. Click to select this. Create villager. Villager
How
create.
cool is
The
this?
villager has appeared next to your town
Create
centre.
villager. Click a
Create
idle
another
villager.
And the idle
Go to
villager is
idle
such a
villager.
useful thing. I can
Villager.
visually
Click
just
to
have it,
select
hey,
building,
do
villager.
an idle
Build a
villager. I don't have to find one
Villages.
visually.
Display the
Just select
economic
it and then
build
choose a
house.
command from the lower
Cost
left.
Build house
20.
button.
Build house.
Then
Or a
click
keyboard
Click
shortcut.
the buildings button. Click the build house button. Right click town center. Town center. Go to town center. Town
If
center.
more than one
Town
villager
center.
builds a building, it will go up
Idle
faster.
villager. Villager. Buildings.
Okay, so we're going to build another
house.
building.
Cost 20. Build house. If more than one villager builds a building,
It reads your little
right,
tutorial
town
tips as
center.
they come up.
Idle villager. Villager. Right click to gather wood.
And that's pretty much
Build
Age of
lumber camp
Empires. There's a
nearby to
tiny
gather
bit more,
wood
but I think we'll
faster.
just kind of move on
Villager.
just for time's
Villager.
sake, because I have one more
Signal
clip to
allies.
show, and I have one
Toggle
final
minimap
thing that I
terrain builder.
absolutely have to
Villager.
mention before we wrap up. So here is Minecraft Dungeons. I've been hooked on this game for the past week and a half, 2 weeks or so. Not only, again, does it read the menus, but, I would love to see this type of feature in a game like Borderlands, where you're changing perks and skills and inventory item, weapons every 2 seconds. So this reads your inventory, but it even, as you're walking through the world, it actually reads aloud, like an enemy drops a weapon or a consumable, it'll tell you what it is and its stats before you pick it up, so you know what you're picking up. It's sweet.
Resume game. Use settings. Use view controls.
Another freebie
Use
in the
settings.
Windows
Menu
Store if you
close.
have Game Pass Ultimate, by the way.
Wandering trader. Press a random artifact. Get a random artifact appropriate for your level. Make trade for 169. Wandering trader. Press a black random gear. Get a random piece of gear appropriate for your level.
That one, for whatever reason, didn't read the actual tip. There are a couple of cases where it doesn't do that, but here we go. Check this out.
Press B for back. Press right trigger for quick equip. Press X for salvage. Press Y for enchantments. Press A for pickup. Use left thumbstick for navigation. 22 to 44 ranged damage. Strong charged attacks. The question of what makes the power bow so powerful has puzzled the minds of learned folk for ages.
So 2 things I would
Hunter's
love to
armor
see in a future
Fangs
update
of
here
frost
is
Equipped.
the ability to adjust the
Totem of
speed
shielding
of the
power.
voice. But
Equipped.
more importantly, when you're in an
Wonderful power
inventory
11.
here, it reads the
Equipped.
item name, but then it
Equipped.
reads
Pickaxe
the
power 11.
button prompts, like press Y to do this, X to do that. And then it'll read the
Press
item
A to
description,
travel.
and I think it should be just the opposite. It should say, like, axe, power
Press A to
12,
travel.
and then, blah, 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 damage, and then that stuff, and then leave the actual button
Mission
prompts to be last, because every time I
Fiery
want to hear
Forge.
the stats of a
Re-
weapon or
Desert
item,
Temple.
I have to
Press
sit
A
there
to
and listen
Cacti
to
Canyon.
the
Pumpkin
button
pastures.
prompt
Press A to select
things
mission.
every single time.
Start
So
mission.
again, it's reading the map as I move around to these locations. And here's the cool
Menu
part when
closed.
during actual gameplay.
Health
It tells you when your health
138.
changes,
New objective.
your arrow count,
Find the village.
tells you when objectives change.
The Illager raids have roasted.
So we'll skip that little cutscene.
New objective. Find the village.
I love that so much. I'm actually on the last level of
Health
this, by the way, and it's just
125
brutal. I'm getting my
out of
butt
100.
kicked on it.
Health remaining 120 out of 138.
So there's your health announcement. Again, look at your big HUD on the bottom. It doesn't have to be that big, but I did that to show the point. Okay, here we go.
TNT. Health remaining 108 out of 138. TNT. Explodes when thrown, damaging everyone in a circular area. Picked up.
And there'll be a point where he gets I get an apple here in just a minute. And I kind of do it a little quickly. Because unfortunately the pickup
Health remaining
is the
99
same
out of
button
1
as
apple.
your attack button. So
Health
when I meant
remaining
to
100 out of
attack, I ate the
138.
apple. But there you go.
Health remaining
That is a quick demo
126
of...
out of 100.
I wanted to show these last two because it's not just menu UI and dialogues. It is that, but it's also during gameplay. And we're about to wrap up here, but I have to mention one game that I learned about. So in just over a week, there's a little game out there that's coming out called The Last of Us Part 2. And about a week ago on Twitter, Naughty Dog had posted a tweet, and The Verge had an article about it, and now other places are picking up on it. They have added, like, I cannot wait to try this because they've added over 60 different accessibility features. They had a blog post the other day, and just going through every little thing. I mean, just if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me retweeted that, or if you follow, like, look at Naughty Dog. But, you know, for any kind of disability or any kind of difficulty option or just anything you could possibly almost think of, but the unprecedented part here is that they also say that, hey, we've added enough audio cues and text to speech throughout the whole game. This is a, you know, full 3D world AAA, you know, ginormous game that is going to be fully playable by somebody who is completely, totally blind. And so, you know, and there's also things that help with low vision. But, like, just the fact that a totally blind player can come in and play a game like The Last of Us 2, I've said for a little while now that there's going to be this tipping point. You know, there's a lot of things, as you've seen tonight, that, you know, accessibility has come a long way in the last couple of years, but, like, there's going to be this tipping point where you get a couple indie games, but then you get this major AAA game, like Age of Empires 2 or The Last of Us Part 2, that is just, like, fully playable to blind players, which we've never had that before. We've had audio games developed specifically for blind players, but a lot of those are more simplistic, you know, and we want to play the same games that everybody else plays. And so, I mean, the people that I follow on Twitter right now are just losing their mind, which understandably so. You know, it's like, hey, we can play a game day one. Naughty Dog has announced it ahead of time, so we know that we're able to play it. Again, announcing your title has these features ahead of time because you can put them in, but if nobody knows that they're there and nobody will use them, you know, getting the word out there that they exist and that you have them can be really helpful. So I had to mention The Last of Us 2 because I already am taking work off that day next Friday because I am so playing that game. So just a few resources here, some accessibility resources that you can check out. If you want to follow somebody in accessibility, besides myself, I would highly recommend Ian Hamilton. This guy is like he's the one that really kicked up my game. As far as, you know, I've done the accessibility thing for a long, long time, but a few years back I saw him at a conference and met with him, talked with him, and he's the one who invited me to present last year as part of the panel. But, like, he's helped so many people. He's like the guy when it comes to game accessibility and, like, even hooking, like, if you need to find people who you need to find somebody in a wheelchair, you need to find somebody with a hearing impairment, like, he knows the people, he'll hook you up. And he just, it's yeah. And there's other resources, you know, Able Gamers, Special Effect, Can I Play That, Game Accessibility Nexus. These are all different things that are accessibility. Finally, thank you again for letting me present. It was a lot of fun. And here is my various contact information. I got my YouTube channel, my website. That's very, very basic, unfortunately, but my Twitter and that kind of a thing. So we'll wrap it up here. And I just want to ask if if there are any questions in the chat. Maybe somebody can kind of read them aloud and I can try to address them. So thanks again, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse.
Hope that wasn't too long.
I don't think so. I think it's just fine. I may have turned off your screen share.
I actually canceled it.
Oh, you did that. Okay.
Yeah, no, that was me. Yep, sorry. That was totally me.
I do see a question in chat.
Okay.
It says, what are your thoughts on using a user's pre-existing TTS versus making one custom for the game, possibly with custom voiceovers such as what Mortal Kombat did?
Well, like I said, if you're using pre-recorded voice prompts, the downside to doing that is that, you know, you would have to, you know, you take the Mortal Kombat 11 announcer, let's say, if you add new features or add new options, and if you want everything to speak, and the way games always, you know, what you get at launch is not what you have 6 months later. So as new things are added, the downside to that is you have to have that guy come in and read all these new prompts for story elements or menu options or move lists or whatever is you have. Some games are just using like a lot of them are using like I think like the Windows 10 text-to-speech API. Some of them might go through Windows Narrator themselves. I don't really know exactly how some of these games are doing it. And then you have things like Skullgirls that is basically letting you use your existing screen reader, be it Narrator, NVDA, or JAWS, or any of the, those are the main ones that are out there for PC. But, even iOS games, there's a lot of them for menus and stuff and for gameplay that use the built-in voiceover screen reader. So, yeah, hopefully that kind of helps answer your question.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not seeing any other questions. But thanks again for giving this talk. This is a great overview. And I think we're just going to cut the stream. But Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just going to wrap up and say, yeah, thanks again for having me. And again, I will be attending future meetings if they're online or once we are able to get back together. So, if you have questions or you have a game and you would like to make it more accessible to blind or visually impaired, hit me up. Hit me up on Twitter or email or in person at a meeting. I'll be glad to see what I can do.
Well, it looks like we've got one more question.
Okay.
Waiting for it to appear, but
fair enough.
Brian's said he had a question, but so far anyway, it hasn't appeared. Oh, he's wondering if revealing text bothers you. Like the text is typed out, like it's slowly revealed, letter by letter. Is that typically?
Oh, okay. At first I wasn't sure what you meant. Okay, yeah. It doesn't really bother me. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really bother me. A lot of times I will just hit A or whatever to, make the advance the text. The one thing I will say that does give me trouble though is I would rather have the text appear and then, some games for cutscenes or for dialogue scenes, actually, I forgot to bring this up. Yeah, is that a lot of games will just auto advance the text, especially during story moments. And again, if it's too small or if it takes you too long to be able to read it and the text automatically advances, well, I lose out on the story. So being able to have the text, it'll put up a block of text, like a little box or something. I can read that and then I can manually hit A or manually hit a button to advance the text past that little bit. I like that way better than just having it, here's a little paragraph, and then boom, here's another little paragraph, and it just automatically advances. That I don't like because I might not be able to read it fast enough. So, good question.
That makes sense. And then, will your slides be made available anywhere?
I can make them available. I do have basically a version of the PowerPoint that without the videos in them. So, because with the videos in them, the PowerPoint is like a gig. But I can, I don't know if you want to have them on the IGDA website, or I can put them, I think I can put it on my Google Drive and I don't know, I can email you a link or something.
Yeah, that sounds great. Otherwise, there are services that do it too. Like for myself, I've used SlideShare before.
Okay.
It's just like
and actually, I think they already are on there, so I could probably just link even my Behemoth PowerPoint if you wanted. So yeah, I can email you those, and then if we want to get them out to the group or put it in your next newsletter or something.
Yeah, or tweet them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Sure, I can do that too.
Awesome.
All right.
Was there another one? It looks like. What is your preference for health fluctuations? Your Minecraft Dungeons example gave a summary after the battle. What about something like Skullgirls?
Skullgirls and fighting games in general don't typically give you they don't really tell you how much health you have left. I think like Mortal Kombat 11, there is a queue, like a little bing or something like that, if your health gets down to like a third or something, so you know that you're getting low. And there's another little audio feedback, like once your special meter's full, so you know that you have access to that. But again, there's a balance, and that's the thing with meeting with testing with users and stuff, is that there's a fine balance between something being too chatty and blabbing all the time. You want to balance it between giving enough information that the player needs, the relevant information that the player needs, but not just having it, telling you every little thing which they may or may not need or want. So it's, there is a balancing act to that too.
Makes sense. All right, thanks again. And
all right, thanks. Yeah, pleasure doing it.
Awesome. I think we're gonna wrap up the stream and the meeting. So thank you everyone for watching, and sorry about all the hiccups. I could have been more prepared today, but I think it went okay, and I really appreciate all of our speakers. So everyone, give yourselves a pat on the back or whatever. And I guess maybe there'll be people hanging out in Discord. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'll see you there if you are. All right, have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good one.